Hi, I'm Dennis Weiss for Eagle Communications. Welcome to another episode of Why Like Ike, shot right here in the Ike family home in Abilene, Kansas. First time I've ever been in here.
Well, welcome.
William Snyder, Pam Sanfilippo, my two experts. They're going to guide us through the home today. This is a special edition for Mother's Day, and so we're focusing on Ida Eisenhower.
That's right.
All right, start us off. Where are we at?
Well, we are in the front parlor of the Eisenhower Boyhood home, and this is a special room for us because this was never used by the family except for those special occasions. So Ike is one of 6 boys. If you can imagine, in this tiny house, it just got one room smaller that they weren't allowed in.
Pam and I can tell you that when you have 6 boys, if you don't keep them out of one room, you won't have a special room, right, Pam?
That's right. And it was a home. I like to point out the difference between a home and a house, and it was Ida who made it a home for the family.
It's easy to see. My first time in, and I've taken a little quick tour, we're standing in front of the bookcase full of books of the period, which the Google is right behind us. Okay,
the Google of the day.
The Google of the day is right behind us, and what a fascinating thought to think of Dwight David Eisenhower growing up here with the books of knowledge and encyclopedia set.
That's right.
Fascinating.
Well, education was very important for the family, and both Ida and David had been to college. That's actually where they met and got married, at Lane College in Lecompton, Kansas.
Really?
Yes, and they encouraged all of their boys to read, and they all had to go to college, but they had to fund it for themselves. So no student loans in those days.
No student loans, right.
And an excellent prep with having all the books here at home. And
That's right. We actually do have quite a few of them that you can see. Little kids have drawn in some of Mom and Dad's college textbooks and written their names. So.
This is a place where I really should just put my hands in my pockets so you don't slap them, because that has such, I just want to look at that. I just want to touch that. I want to see that. Books are fascinating to me, and I passed it on to at least one of my children. My youngest daughter just is absolutely in love with books, which is a good thing.
excellent.
Okay, so Ida preserved this special place for her family, and she preserved learning by storing books, and preserved an atmosphere of a nice place.
That's right. I like to think so. It's definitely very much a home. Ida lived here almost 50 years.
Okay.
So there are some changes that went around. We do even back then, even though they were decorating on a shoestring. Ida added a few new pieces of furniture from time to time. So this is probably what the home looked like about the time of her death in 1946.
Lovely rug. I don't know if Dave got a shot of it, or he can on the way when we go to the next room. But the colors still just jump out at you.
Yes. And we're very fortunate all of the furnishings in the home are original. So very fortunate. Not many historic homes are so fortunate.
What are the photographs on the wall?
Well, over here on this wall, which is the first wall our visitors see, we get Ida and David's marriage certificate from 1885. And on either side of them are the girls' class and the boys' class from Lane College from their years at
college. That's cool. That's Ida's special room then, isn't it,
right.
Pam?
And a real testament
her
to
photographs.
The education that they felt was so important. And, of course, her story begins much earlier than the marriage and even her attending college. I think she brought some of those self-sufficient skills with her all the way through. She was born in Virginia in the middle of the Civil War and orphaned at age 11. Made the journey out here to Kansas from Virginia when she was a teenager. The fact that she attended Lane College was amazing for a woman of that period. There were very few colleges that even admitted women at the time.
In Lecompton, right?
Correct.
Okay. Wasn't that the first territorial capital of Kansas?
It was. It was.
Yeah, that's another thing about Eisenhower. Okay, I'm confident Dave had his camera pointing at it, so he's standing right next to the family Bible, which is the record, not only the Word of God ensconced here in their home, but it was also the record of the Eisenhower family, because that's where the records were kept.
That's right, of the births of the 7 boys. Ike was number 3, and his name is recorded as D. Dwight, so he was actually christened David Dwight, somewhat after his father. And then when he entered West Point, he actually switched the order of his name, so it became Dwight David as we know him today. But as I mentioned, it's 7 boys. Paul, who was number 5, died before he was a year old of diphtheria.
This is just a piece of history of growing up at that time in America. That is not unusual to have the family with a loss of a young one before they could reach age.
So pretty amazing that all 6 of the remaining 6 boys, survived to adulthood, and as we mentioned before, all went on to college and became, very much self-made men.
Okay, when people come to the home, they'll walk in that door and then they'll turn left into this room. But when they walk in the door, you mentioned to me that's the original wall, because the house 2-story here goes up, and what they'll see on the east was added later.
That's right. A couple of years after the family moved in, they took in Grandpa Eisenhower to move with them, and they needed a couple more bedrooms, so they added a 1-story wing with a bedroom for Mom and Dad and a bedroom for Grandpa.
And because this program's all about Ida for Mother's Day, the first thing I saw when I looked in that room is her sewing machine. Much like my mother, with an old Singer sewing machine, it was the heart and soul of the produce for the family. There were 2 things that produced for the family. Sewing machine was one, the kitchen was the other, and we'll see that here in a little while.
Yes, we will. And we're also very fortunate in that most of the handiwork you see around the home, the lace doilies on the chairs, on the tables, some of the crazy quilt pillows we're going to see in the next room, those were all made by Mrs. Eisenhower.
Pam, the last time I saw you, you had a bunch of sophomores in high school in your research room the other day, and we had a short visit. It has to be kind of special for you to be standing in front of this bookcase.
Oh, yes. Books, tell so much not only about the time period, but about who was actually reading them, what things were of interest to the family. There are a lot of religious books, and kind of the Bible was the center of the family. Each evening they would gather together as a family in the room we'll be going into next. Maybe that's a good segue.
That's a good segue.
To read from the Bible and read other stories.
Okay, we'll let William lead us along. So, my favorite piece of furniture in my new visit here, right behind me. What is it?
Oh, the fainting couch? This is,
but it's...
and no sitting, please.
I was about to touch it. I was going to point out that it's all hand stapled, of course, but it's quite obviously hand stapled.
Yes, so I think the family may have made a few repairs over the years. As you can imagine, 6 rambunctious boys jumping on a leather sofa might cause a little wear and tear.
But like we say, they made them to last in those days.
Yeah, that's very true. So in addition to the evening Bible study, book readings, and family gatherings, this is probably Ida's most prized possession, is her piano. She actually was able to purchase that 2 years before they got married with a small legacy that she inherited from her grandfather. And so she brought this into the home. She taught all 6 boys to play the piano. Ike gave it up as soon as he could. He did not enjoy it. But Arthur, the oldest, and Milton, the youngest, continued to play for the rest of their lives.
Lots of artifacts in this room that have significance. The shortwave radio over there that you said has some history. That wasn't original here. The shortwave radio wasn't here when they moved in.
Not when they moved in 1898. But
it was added for a purpose, I'm sure.
That's right. In 1942, the brothers purchased this for Mom so that as a shortwave she could actually pick up European news, and so she could listen to the war news and hear how Ike was doing.
Isn't that something?
And actually got to hear his voice over that radio.
It's not too hard, Pam, to imagine Ida sitting here or there in that chair, or even in the little rocking chair right there in front of the radio listening for the news of her son. That's a picture so many mothers did in World War II, maybe without the benefit of a shortwave, but everybody gathered around the radio to hear the news of the day of the war. Yeah. Okay, there's something on the little rocking chair somebody needs to speak to. That is a handmade quilted covered pillow with all the names of the boys on it.
Yes, though again, that was made by Ida. You'll see it's sort of a crazy quilt top, and she embroidered all of the family names on it, and there's actually 2 more crazy quilt pillows behind Pam there on the fainting couch that you like so much. Again, those were made by Mrs. Eisenhower. And the red, white, and blue coverlet that is on that was actually woven by great-grandpa Eisenhower back in Pennsylvania, and so that artifact came west with the family when they moved.
You were telling me he was a weaver by trade.
Yes, an itinerant weaver, so
Okay.
he would go from town to town, and as the people collected yarns and wools and things for, they needed a new blanket or something, he would weave whatever the community wanted and then move on to the next town.
We're in Abilene, Kansas, so we're very proud to be here. We shoot Like Ike as an exposure for the rest of the world through the lens of the camera. But one of the things that I can't help myself from grasping onto is the fact that is the original entrepreneur, the American entrepreneur. They picked up their trade, some tools, and moved to where the work was.
That's right.
And as one accumulated more people in the area, then one could stay home and do the same work because there were enough people around you to do that. What an incredible lesson we can learn from that, here in Ida's house about how America was built and why we're so blessed to be here in Abilene, Kansas.
And the opportunity that was available. Not everybody could just pick up and move.
That's right.
The fact that both of them, both of their families did that, came here to start new lives and succeed.
I think Ida had to have loved this home. I mean, I've been here a little over a half an hour, and I love this home. It's just home.
It is home. It does feel very much like coming home. So it's, certainly I enjoy my part of my job when I get to come over here and, even if we're working, we're still taking care of Mom's house. And
I think it's
privilege
just
to do that.
It's fascinating where Dave is standing. He's standing right in the pocket doors.
That's right.
And frankly, that's a tiny room in today's world. This is a tiny room in today's world. Yet to make that a special room, somebody invested in pocket doors to build them, buy them, install them, maintain them, all of those things. That was part of making a room special.
That's right.
And you could open it up and widen the area, but still that dividing line, when I look at it, there's a door there.
That's right.
They're in the wall.
And Ida was the heart of the home, no matter where she was in the house, I would say. And she was honored for her role in 1945, is that
Yes,
correct?
1945.
William, as Mother of the Year in Kansas, the inaugural.
Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting?
Yes.
That's a fascinating thought. We're filming this on behalf of Ida for Mother's Day, and we think of raising 6 sons. We're standing in evidence of hard pioneer work from Grandfather Eisenhower. And we're here. You're a young man. I'm an older man, and Pam's right in the middle of us, and helping us look good. So but the reality of it is the connection from Grandpa Eisenhower, which is right there, all the way to you as a curator of this place, is linkage that's important that Eisenhower left for us to benefit from. What David Eisenhower left for us to benefit from by putting his library and museum here.
Yes. In Abilene, we're so very fortunate. Yes. Absolutely.
Very fortunate. I see you have the pictures of the 2 brothers who kept playing the piano on top of
Yes,
the
we have
piano.
a wonderful picture of Mom smiling out in the garden, and then Arthur, the oldest son, and Milton, the youngest, who, as we mentioned, continued to play piano for the rest of their lives.
I think it's in the entryway where I saw the picture of Ida, and I asked you how old was she at the time. You said it was during World War II, so we did some math, and it was closing in on 80-ish.
80-ish.
And I looked at her hands because you told me about all the handwork in here. And I looked at her hands, and there's very little evidence in her hands of arthritis. So, she was, and her skin is smooth. Her eyes are bright in that photo. I mean, it just pops out at you. She, at that age, was still a very vibrant, healthy woman who could accomplish the things she wanted to today.
That's right.
Yeah. Fascinating. All right, where are we going next, William?
We're going to step into the dining room.
The dining room. Okay, right behind you.
Okay.
In the dining room. This is one of the larger rooms, really.
Yes.
And so when I came here the first time, you told me this was the original house. Pam was telling me this is the, and we both said kitchen. It was the kitchen, because in the houses of the day, the largest room was always the kitchen if you had a family.
That's right. This was originally both the kitchen and dining room combined, and the break front right behind us, that's where the coal stove originally sat that Mom did all the cooking on.
Right.
And so about where I'm standing is probably where they took their weekly baths in a galvanized bathtub. But right behind us, if Dave can get a shot of that, that was originally Grandpa Eisenhower's bedroom when he moved in with the family. But after he passed away and the city ran water and sewer out this far into the country.
Way out here.
Way out here. The family actually installed the bathroom in 1908, so that means Ike was 18 before he lived in a house with indoor plumbing.
Yeah. This is a fascinating room to stand in. To Dave's left is the receptacle where bread is made and stored. Really, that's the dough box, if you will. That thing just has life pouring out of it if you look at it.
And it's rather fun because many of our visitors don't know what it is, and they often think it's a crib or something like that.
A crib with a lid?
Yes, for pet babies. You know, put the lid back on. No, just kidding, just kidding. No, that was Mom's dough box. So the bread dough would rise, and then you would knead it on the work surface on top.
Yeah.
And she made 9 loaves of bread every other day for.
And I'm creeping into your picture, Dave. So stay on the dough box. I want to give people a scale of what the size it is. Okay. This wide, this long. That's how you made bread and made 9 loaves every other day and fed a family.
That's right.
And it was probably just the right height.
Perfect height for Ida. I guarantee you that was.
For kneading it
Right.
below and then top.
And we have the home that, as I stand here with my bare feet, with my sock feet, I should say, I can feel the joint in the floor. It's quite obviously right here. And what the support mechanism underneath, but in your business, it begs questions. I wonder why. So, you've probably never been under the house, though.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Have you?
Absolutely. I've been in the cellar. In addition to the bread, Mom also canned between 400 and 500 quarts of fruits and vegetables every summer for the family to live on during the winter. They had a huge garden about where the Presidential Museum sits now. So that's where they raise their own food.
And Pam, you guys have a program where kids come here every year and restart a garden and learn about that at the very least.
They
probably don't produce 500 quarts of beans anymore, but they have a chance to learn.
Right, and each of the boys had their own section of the garden that they could grow whatever they want and then sell it on their own to make a little money themselves. That was their
entrepreneurship.
Exactly, and Ike has a great story that he was the only child born in Texas, and while they were living in Texas, his mother learned how to make Mexican hot tamales. And when they moved up here and he had the garden and wanted to make some extra money, he had his mom teach him how to cook. All the boys learned how to cook, sew, and clean. But he learned how to make those tamales and then sold them here in Abilene.
Really?
For 3 for 5 cents.
3 for 5 cents?
Tamales for 5 cents.
Wow. I learn so much every time we film a Why Like Ike. It's an incredible opportunity, and because I get to come here with a camera all the time and can tell you I learn so much every time, imagine what you could learn if you took the time to come and interface with these folks here. So, okay, we're going to head for what became the kitchen for this house after it grew a little bit, and look at some of my favorite artifacts in there. But before we leave this area, I noticed over on the side bar over there that there's some china, and I found how interesting it is that there's china there, because my family experiences, people went to war, they sent artifacts back that they could afford and for their mother at home, and my mom and all of her sisters has similar gifts from people across the way when they were over there, and it's fascinating to look at that. So you probably know what that is and can tell us.
This is actually the commemorative bicentennial of George Washington's birth china that Ike and Mamie gave to Ida and David for one of their wedding anniversaries.
Okay.
And actually right above the china is a wonderful portrait of Ida and David sitting in the front parlor for the 50th wedding anniversary.
That's magnificent picture. We looked at that closely earlier, and they got to sit in a special room, didn't they, Pam?
Yes.
50 years of marriage, you can sit.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's one more pair of photographs just to Dave's left behind him that we love to point out to our visitors, and they absolutely love. The photograph on the left was taken in 1902. It's Mom and Dad and the 6 boys.
Milton in a dress.
Yes, Milton in a dress with long hair before his first haircut.
Yes,
and
as was the way it was in those days.
Absolutely. And the photograph to the right of that was taken 24 years later in 1926.
Yeah.
The family's in the same positions. You can see Ike on the left there in his military uniform. He had just graduated top of his class from the Command and General Staff College at Fort Leavenworth.
Yeah, had to be a fun day. You know, I think we said earlier in the formal living area, if you will. What would we call the room, Pam?
The front parlor.
The front parlor. With the books of knowledge behind us, the Google of the day. Well, there's the Instagram of the day. There is the early family and reproduced again, and there's no accident. It's in the same order.
No. I'm pretty sure that Mom planned that. Ida planned that.
Okay.
A proud mom in both pictures.
Yes. Okay, let's go to where Ida probably spent a good percentage of her time as a young mother. So, yes. Pam, lead us off.
Oh, all right.
Do we step over the threshold that's had 1,000,000 steps on it?
Yes.
You see that?
This is a even tinier room.
I'm going to stay over here so you and Pam can get in the picture. Because it's a tiny room, but it's full of a productive machine, isn't it, Pam?
Yes. This kitchen was added in 1915, so Mom got her separate kitchen and dining room finally, after they'd lived in the home for about 17 years. While this looks fairly typical probably to our eyes of a stove of the period, it's actually a state-of-the-art.
Oh, yes.
Because it could be coal, gas, or wood fired, all three.
Right.
And principal reason for that was there was a thought that certain recipes tasted better cooked certain ways.
And I have my fingers interlocked here so I don't touch it. I'm having a hard time not touching this one.
I really want to touch that.
I'm glad Sam laughed, or I'd have scars on my knuckles by now. So you know, it's what a fantastic look at what it was that the Eisenhower family used to produce not only health here, but with canning, you're also producing wealth because you're feeding your family in a way through the winter of your work in the summer. And if you don't do that, then you're laying cash out for food from other people. So
I'm sure
fantastic.
All the boys were in here helping and involved in.
If they did 500 quarts, there were.
Probably so. And that is one of Mom's later canning pressure pots. So.
Yeah. We had a lot of this going on in my home growing up. I think all families did where we were at that point in time. But the fantastic look. If people need to come to the Boyhood home and take a tour and stand there and look at this, this is something you just won't see, and it certainly won't see one that Ida Eisenhower produced for her family on. What a special thing.
That's right. That's right.
I think a testament to her as mother of 6 boys is that shortly after, I guess it was after she received the award for Mother of the Year, a reporter asked her, aren't you proud of your famous son? And she said, well, of course. Which one? So all 6 boys were famous to her eyes.
Well said.
Good mom answer.
Yeah. Got a hand coffee grinder up on top of the cupboard.
Yes.
And a tiny little cupboard.
Yes.
With a galvanized metal work area on top of it.
That's right. So when she wasn't kneading dough out in the dough box, this would have been her work surface. So.
Yeah, this is where she rolled it out, turned it into something.
That's right.
But it's just small. Everything is small. I don't think that is. I don't think that's a history that's unknown to people. But our point today about Ida Eisenhower is this is the lady who raised the man who gave the world a second chance at freedom, and Dwight David Eisenhower, and just reminds us again of the importance of family. And Dwight David Eisenhower has the ability to show us that lesson again here in Abilene, Kansas. Parting shots.
Thank you for coming.
You're very welcome.
We hope everybody comes and gets to tour the Boyhood Home along with the rest of the Presidential Library and see what we've been talking about today.
Fantastic opportunity, Pam. Thanks for showing us through. It's been very, very fun for me. I really enjoyed it. One thing I know we missed, I want to say, there's a C.L. Brown telephone on the wall in there that came later in life. Again, part of Abilene. This is a foundation of many things that have benefited America. Abilene, Kansas has generated wealth for America from more than just one man.
That's right.
So, folks, we're so glad you joined us today for this special program about Eisenhower and our Why Like Ike program. We enjoyed bringing it to you. For Eagle Communications, I'm Dennis Weiss, William Snyder, Pam Sanfilippo. You have a great day.